Hi, everybody. So, this is your assignment for this week, and this is getting you ready to establish your rough outline for your entire essay. And so, this assignment is really all about planning. In order to do that, we're going to go back to your first library research activity where I asked you to come up with questions, and you had to write a little paragraph about how you were thinking about your topic, what you hope to prove, what your curiosities may be pertaining to this specific topic. So we're picking up from there, and I'm going to show you an example of what I did in order to give you an idea of how this could come together. So this was the last class we had together before we had to transition all our courses online. So this was the last handout that I gave you, entitled Research Questions. And we did step one together, and you did step one as your first library research activity. Now we're moving on to step two. Now you will see this handout posted for you in the assignment for folder, just for your reference, so you can take a look at the sample and all the steps in detail. But I'm going to talk you through this just so you understand what I want you to do for this week. So I need a research question, and I think the last time that we picked up in lecture is what I arrived at, and I had all these questions in the PowerPoint slides, remember that? And those are the same questions that I have here that I've highlighted. And so I thought, okay, what is the thing that I want to know the most? What can I actually attempt to prove here? And if I'm going to have a research question that can be a working thesis that's going to drive my research paper, it's going to be this. Okay, so I said, with the dwindling honeybee population, are humans' days numbered? Was Einstein right? It sounds punchy, it sounds interesting, so I'm going with it. And then we'll just see what my research generates from there. So this was out of all these questions, and this is the one that I picked because this seemed like the thing that I should be working toward proving. It's an overarching idea, in other words. The other questions are very specific that pertain to one aspect of this larger, greater idea. Okay, so then step three. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to find those questions, or at least just quickly come up with a list of questions. I mean, 5 to 10 questions would work. Really, 5 to 8 should give you a good amount to choose from. And so you'll see in step three why I'm asking you to do this. So once you've done that, now I need to think about how I might be able to structure my paper. And that's what this week is all about, is creating this rough, quick outline that you can use. What other questions do I need to answer in my essay? Let me take a look at the list. So those other questions that I had come up with very quickly, just thinking about my topic, might be things that I actually want to discuss in my paper in order to prove my point. And most of them can fit into my discussion. So I've bolded the ones in this list below that I think will structure my argument well. So you see the ones that I've bolded, right? These 4, and then this one here at the top. So now I'm going to take the next step, and I'm going to put them in order. Okay, so once I put them in order, I'm going to put Roman numerals in front of them, and I'm going to say, now how should this evolve logically? So if this is my topic, if I have this working, question, then that means that I need to first explain why honeybees are important to us in the first place, because I can't assume that that's something that we all know. I certainly didn't, not in the very beginning of researching this topic. And so why are honeybees important? That would suffice as a really good background paragraph. I could maybe even talk about that a little bit in my introduction. What relation do honeybees have to human survival? I think that works. So that's number 1. Number 2, what's the problem? What is colony collapse disorder? So remember, when you are arguing something, you first have to establish that there is a problem that needs to be solved, and then you present the solution. And so the problem here is colony collapse disorder. Why are the honeybees dwindling? Okay. The reason I'm calling this a rough sample outline is because eventually your topic sentences will be direct statements. There'll be something that you assert to the reader. But for now, it's really easy to work with questions, and it's so easy to come up with questions about a topic that you're interested in. So I just want you to go from there. The third one I put was, where have honeybee disappearances occurred? How have they been tracked? So how do we know, right? I'm still kind of proving the problem from number 2, but also saying, who does this affect? Okay, these are all important things that I need to address. So that's number 3. And whoops, this doesn't belong here. That's not what I wanted. So let's scroll down. Oh no, I made the same mistake twice. Okay, so this one should actually be, so let's look at what didn't. What are some possible causes of colony collapse disorder? I'm going to change this before I post it, but the video is almost done, so my bad. So you're going to see this. What are some possible causes of colony collapse disorder? That would be my Roman numeral number 4. That's Roman numeral 4. So then Roman numeral 5 is the only one left. Was Einstein right? Okay, and so this is how it will unfold. Now let's look on to step 4, because you're almost done. So once you get to this point, you pretty much have what I'm asking you to do. Now there's one more step here. If you have questions that you have not used yet, this is the time to include them. If you only came up with 5 questions, and so you have Roman numeral 1 through 5, but, and that's all you have. What I want you to do is come up with stuff that you would need to talk about, the stuff you would need to prove in order to really thoroughly discuss each thing. And so this is what it will look like when you're done. So these are the questions. I italicized the questions that I just could not use. Okay, so as my Roman numerals, but I found a way to work them in. So for Roman numeral 1, why are honeybees important? Why are they important? What relation do they have to human survival? I included here, what is the measure of the pollination efforts of other species and natural forces without honeybees? Is it enough for us to maintain our food supply? Is it enough for us to survive and flourish as a species? I need to address that because people may be thinking, oh, honeybees is not so big of a deal. There are other insects that do a similar job, but honeybees are very specific to pollinating certain crops, and so we need to know that. The other question that I would need to address is what certain crops would be unsustainable without the work of honeybees. Would it lead to certain crops becoming extinct? And we have had crops become extinct over time. So could this lead to a drastic extinction, a quicker extinction of certain crops? So do you see what I'm doing here? Do you see how I'm kind of piecing in these questions that need to be asked? I want you to do this because this is how you're going to put your research into perspective. This is how you're going to know if you found what you needed to find, and if you need to go back and find some more sources before you actually start writing. So that's what we're working on this week, getting the structure of your paper together. Look at this next one for Roman numeral 2. What's the problem? What is colony collapse disorder? Why are the honeybees dwindling? So that's my Roman numeral 2. But then I've got, are there different types of bees? And remember when we started searching in class and I said, oh, there are all these different types of bees, and I hadn't even thought of that, right? So this is why this is important for you to have done some research first, because this can give you a clue as to the things that you need to answer for your reader that they probably don't know either. And so, are there different types of bees? Are all bees affected by colony collapse disorder? And so this is something that we need to see. Are all bee populations dwindling as a result? And so this is how I worked in those extra questions that I had. So really what I would advise is if you've misplaced those questions, it won't take much for you to sit down and just write down as many questions as you can think of, and then look back at them and say, okay, how can this turn into topic sentences? How can this turn into a paper? So then when you're done, you're going to end up with something that looks just like this. And because it will be a separate document, probably I'm asking you to Google share it with me. So if it's a separate document, or if it's something that you email it to me, which is totally fine, email it to my Gmail account, you're essentially going to end up with something that looks like this. So your pre-outline or your rough sample outline, I want you to give me what your working thesis is, give me your questions in the proper order that would make sense for you to address them in your essay, Roman numerals in front, and then, and you'll see this on the document that I post for you, then I want you to add in these other questions, the things that you would need to answer in order to prove each of these points. Okay, so we're working on the logical aspect of your argument first. We're going to piece in the research in the coming weeks. Okay, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out via email. And as always, this is an activity. And so for activities, I'm asking you to email them to me via my Gmail account that you have. Okay, I will see you next time.